Ryan Seacrest just dropped $36 million on a mansion in LA. The American Eagle CEO is selling his penthouse in Florida. A building in Bristol is being sold that has a very unique feature. It's got a Banksy mural painted on the side of it. I'm looking forward to today's episode, you guys. We've got some cool houses to look at, first of all, but I am particularly looking forward to diving more into this whole Banksy situation. What I want to know is if that Banksy graffiti being on the side of this building makes the building itself worth any more money. If you're new here, my name's Scott. This series is called Scott's Market Watch, and in this series, we dive into some of the top real estate headlines that have come up in the last couple weeks. For our first topic of the day, let's look at Rupert Murdoch. He just took a $20 million loss on the sale of his penthouse in New York City. If you don't know much about Murdoch, that's okay. I don't really either. He's a billionaire who built a media empire that includes the cable channel Fox News and the Wall Street Journal. Murdoch bought this triplex that we're talking about today way back in 2014 for $43 million. Is located at the top of a building called One Madison Tower. His condo actually occupied the 58th, 59th, and the 60th floor in the building. First, I want to show you guys the price history, okay? So in 2022, he originally listed this thing for sale for $62 million. Over the course of the next couple of years, he dropped the price, and then he dropped it again, and then he dropped the price again, before it eventually sold for $23,750,000, which is what, like a 65% discount off the original asking price? Let's look at some of these photos though. So first things first, look at the ceiling height and this wall of glass in the living room. The apartment has 7,000 square feet of living space in total, spread out over 3 levels. This is the money shot right here though. I mean, there's not that many apartments in New York City that have a corner view this high in the sky with ceiling heights like this. This staircase is pretty nice, and this takes you from the main level up to level 2, which is where a couple of the extra bedrooms are. Look at the dining room. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the ceiling. I am going to guess this is one of the more unique light fixtures I've ever seen. Wow, the kitchen is awesome. Very cool mix of finishes in here. I love the stainless steel countertops, something you typically see more in commercial applications. Based on the order of the photos, I'm gonna guess this is the master bedroom, which the only downside is this is actually on the 3rd floor of this unit, so you're gonna need to take the stairs or the elevator to get up here. Pretty nice sized master bath, especially for New York standards. Same with the closet, huge walk-in closet with a view. This is one of those types of apartments too that not only looks cool with the finishes and with the views and everything that's going on with what we're seeing here, but it's also a building that's got all kinds of amenities. You got a full-time doorman, you got a concierge, you got a gym / fitness center with the steam room, the sauna, all that stuff. There's a couple of like lounge areas for the residents to hang out. This building has it all. The broker made a statement on this whole situation. His name's Kyle Blackman, and he just said the reason for all the price reductions is because Murdoch was basically just trying to constantly keep up with the values of comparable properties that were selling in the area. Next, let's zoom over to the West Coast, okay, and let's talk about Ryan Seacrest. This guy has more money than he knows what to do with. He just dropped $36 million on a modern Spanish-style mansion. This house was originally listed by fashion mogul Serge Azria, and Serge had recently completed a major renovation to the house prior to listing it for sale. If you're like me, you probably haven't heard Serge's name much in terms of his fashion success, but this guy's a total baller, and he's definitely made some major real estate headlines in the past. Serge is the same guy who sold Mark Andreessen that $177 million house in Malibu back in 2021. You guys know I always love to go back and look at the price history first. So Serge originally lists this house in June for $48 million. Ryan scoops it up in December for $36 million. Still a big number, but huge discount. You're gonna see though, he did a great job with this renovation. So this house was originally built back around 1928. Apparently it's got a lot of history too, like other Hollywood figures have owned this house over the years. I'm gonna guess that this is the front door. Very cool. You don't see a front door shaped like that very often. I seriously have no idea if this is virtual staging or if this is actual furniture. Flipping through the rest of these photos though, I can definitely understand why Ryan Seacrest fell in love with this place. I mean, it's just got a very comfortable vibe to it. It's grand, it's fancy, it's got all the bells and whistles, it's 11,000 square feet, so it's a mansion for sure, but there's just something about it that feels like a house that you just want to like cozy up in, and with as much as he works, I'm sure he's looking for that. At the end of the day, he just needs somewhere comfortable to unwind. Speaking of Ryan's work days, his business life is certainly why he can afford houses like this. He's making $28 million per year just for being the host of the Wheel of Fortune alone. So yeah, spending $36 million on a house is a lot of money, but for him, is basically like chump change. Next, let's talk about Sean Hannity. Sean has officially left New York and settled into Florida in a $23.5 million mansion. Obviously, I'm not going to disclose exactly where this house is at, but let's just put it this way. The home sits in a very prime and very private location on a 2-acre lot with a massive 150 feet of water frontage. For specs on this one, we've got 8 bedrooms, 11 baths, 12,000 square feet, and is sitting on almost 2 acres. I think when you look at the size and the scale and the setting of this house, like this is the type of house when you can officially say that you have made it from a business standpoint. It is just a compound of a property and, like I said, very private. This photo shows us that we've got 150 feet of frontage on the intercoastal side and on the ocean side, even though this road separates the two. So I guess what happens when you buy a house on this street is that you get the land on both sides of the street. Of course, right off the street, I'm not exactly sure where the garage is, but you got this huge motor court. Inside, there is a ton of natural light, and with the white walls, it really keeps things bright. And then this is looking the other direction. So it's pretty cool how you have water views out both sides of your house. You'll notice there's a lot of these stone accents throughout this house too. Like they use this for these columns here, for the fireplaces, for some of the casing. Very big kitchen. According to the listing description, this house was somewhat recently updated. And earlier I mentioned that this house was 11,000 square feet, but I just noticed in the description that the actual square footage is closer to 20,000 square feet. This place is huge. And this is not something that you see every day, at least where I live, but these here are called impact sliders, which obviously I don't know too much about living in the desert, but I could only assume that this is something that you have in Florida. If you live up against the water, you need a slider that's, you know, a little stronger. Crazy view though from your bar stools. I mean, come on, if you own this house, you never need to go to the actual bar. Sit right there. I think in these next couple photos, what we have going on is a view one direction from the master bedroom. Notice all that stonework. And then if we look the other direction, we've got kind of a mirror image of all that stonework and sliders, but on this side of the room is more of just like a seating area and a fireplace. Off your master, you're taken through these double doors over to your master bathroom. And yeah, when you've got 20,000 square feet to work with, this is gonna be the size of your master bathroom. Okay, moving on to my favorite property of the day. We're gonna stick to the Florida theme, but this time we're gonna talk about a penthouse that the CEO of American Eagle just listed for sale for $33.9 million. It's kind of an interesting story on this one. The couple bought one unit in this building way back in 2006. They bought another unit in 2017, and then they spent the next 5 years combining the 2 units into one home with over 10,000 square feet. The sellers declined to comment on why they're listing this one for sale though, so I guess we'll never know. It's an awesome unit though, it really is. I think it's actually the most expensive condo in all of Florida. Just look at how big this room is. You really have views in every direction. I love all the wood on the ceilings too. Something about like the blue ocean and sky in the background with the wood on the ceilings. They just go good together. These guys must have a lot of friends. This is the biggest dining room table I think I've ever seen. Really nice details in the kitchen too. You'll notice we've got double islands, double oven, and in the back, double dishwashers. Not the greatest view, honestly, looking at that roof off your breakfast nook, but that's okay. You can just focus on the ocean. And look at this. There's like a mirror image of that living room that we were just looking at on the other side. Wild powder room, but that's okay. You're allowed to go kind of crazy in the powder room. Down this hallway, we got some more fun artwork and some hand-blown glass. Anyways, there's a lot more going on with this place. Here's another kind of private seating area slash office. There's a lot of hallways that connect these spaces. They probably had to do that since they did combine some units. I mentioned this is my favorite property of the day. You guys let me know down in the comments which one your favorite is. We still have that Banksy place to look at, so we'll get into that next. Overall, I think this one checks the most boxes for me, even though I don't absolutely love all the finishes in here. I think they did a pretty good job with the remodel, especially in the kitchen and the main living areas. Okay, now let's talk about that Banksy situation. So a Banksy is for sale in Bristol, or really more of what's going on here is a building is for sale in Bristol that just so happens to have a Banksy art piece painted on the side of it. For anybody who doesn't know about Banksy, he's basically the most famous street artist of all time. His pieces are worth a fortune. His most expensive piece, called Love is is in the bin sold at auction for $23.7 million. So yeah, this has happened a few times, but it's always interesting when you've got a building that Banksy graffitied that goes up for sale, because some people argue that that building is now actually worth more money because he graffitied it. The piece that he painted that we're talking about today was titled Well Hung Lover. All of his art is controversial, and this one is no exception. I'll just let you guys use your imagination on the meaning behind this piece. Here's the actual auction site. It's called Hollis Morgan Auction. This is the building in the background. The guide price is 700,000 pounds, which is, I think, like 900,000 US dollars. That just means that's about what they expect the place to sell for at auction. The description actually says that the basement of this property has a nightclub in it, and then the upper levels are vacant. And this shows us where that Banksy painting is. So remember, the pizza shop is over here on the lower level. Kind of cool that he did it on this wall so people can walk by and like actually enjoy it. One of the benefits of buying this place is it says the nightclub's paying pretty good rent. They pay like $10,000 a month in rent, and that lease is set through 2032. But then this art piece being on the side of the building, as ridiculous as this might seem, you guys, like, this actually does add some value to a commercial real estate buyer, because a way they might look at it is, you know what, I'm going to be able to attract more tenants to my building just because this Banksy is here. The language gets a little confusing in the description, but the way that I understand what's going on here is that the seller is selling this place with the Banksy and saying that the new buyer is not allowed to ever remove the Banksy art from the building or destroy the Banksy art, at least like intentionally. But they also go on to basically say that this graffiti is a piece of art that's on the side of the building that could get damaged or ruined at any time, and if it does, that's not on the seller. So I don't have a crystal ball, but if I had to guess, I'd say that this thing's not gonna sell for that much of a premium at auction. Yes, it's cool that there's a Banksy on the side of it, but this place needs a lot of work. That's a wrap for today's episode, you guys. I hope you had fun with this one. If you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button down below before you go, and I'll see you next time.